Hey, family, I hope you're doing well. I'm back once again on the Shame Free Life channel. If you could just do me a huge favor, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. And also, you can hit that bell right beside the subscribe button, which will give you the notifications anytime I do go live or upload a video. You'll be the first to always be in the loop. And if you can also just, keep those comments and emails coming, I certainly will appreciate it. And share this video. If it's a blessing to you, don't keep it to yourself. Definitely share this video. And also, if you haven't already, just go to my website and see some of the great things that we have going on at the shamefreelife.com. But let's get right into it because I think that this is going to be a blessing for you as it was for me. It wasn't while going through the process, I was real pissed off about it. If we can just keep it a buck. So let's get into it. Since the fall of 2019, I've been an active student on a graduate level, pursuing my master's degree in human services counseling, trauma and crisis response at a well known university. That university I will not name at this time. I maintain a 3.1 GPA in the midst of life, in the midst of the ups and downs of life, in the midst of coronavirus, in the midst of loss, in the midst of grief of losing my mother, May the 1st of 2020. Just in the midst of going through so much that we oftentimes go through in life, but just remaining on the grind, not giving up, staying focused. So I've had a total of 10 professors. um, two of the professors are very questionable. The last one was off the chain, and we're going to talk about that in a couple of seconds. Um, so all 8 of the professors that I've had were great, very supportive, and I mean just sterling character. One of the professors, I was 1 point of a B, and there was nothing that she would do to give me that B. I was like, okay, cool. I still continue to bang it out, whatever. I'm still getting A's and B's. It doesn't even phase me. Now, my last semester to obtain my master's degree, my last class in that last semester, which was a couple of weeks ago, had this one professor. Now, I'm staying ahead of my class, banging out all of my work. My job will afford me the time to have hours, whereas I can really dedicate it toward my schoolwork and get it out. And I'm glad to have that flexibility for the 9 to 5. Um, so I've always written my papers, and I'm a very good writer. That's no question about that. I know that for sure. Um, when it comes to writing, um, to accommodate this particular university standards, they prefer the APA standard of writing, and so to stay within that guideline. Now, I have been writing papers, research papers, for 2 years, for 9 professors, and many of those research papers it was multiple research papers within various classes. So 9 professors were very acquainted with my writing style, and if in fact, if I were staying within the APA format, and if I were not, then they would have brought that to my attention or should have brought that to my attention. So I've been writing research papers for 2 years now. No problem with my papers. Hey, I'm gonna give you a B on this paper. Oh, I'm going to give you an A on this paper. I really like the contents of this paper. I get to this last class that I need for my degree to be conferred, to receive my master's degree, And this one professor gave me an F on this paper. And the reason why he gave me an F on this paper, and I've been writing this particular style for 2 years, because he said that you plagiarized this paper, meaning that you didn't write this paper. So I take plagiarism very seriously. As a published author myself of 9 books, I understand scribal and author integrity. And if you are going to quote, to give someone else their props, to give someone else their recognition of this is their thought, not my thought. So I'm not going to bite anyone else's style. I'm not going to take from someone else, that's stealing, and try to make it my own. So for him to accuse me of plagiarism, it was mind blowing, to be offensive, to be quite honest with you. And so I reached out to this professor. Hey, listen, let's talk about this. What's going on? Because I've never been accused of plagiarism. He didn't even want to talk about it. As a matter of fact, he didn't even entertain my email until about 3 weeks later. Then he responded. But according to the guidelines of this university, a professor is supposed to respond to his student within 36 hours, not 3 weeks. And he was very condescending, very nasty. Would not again. He wouldn't even entertain the dignity and the professionalism to even comment. And so I filed for an appeal. The appeal was denied. So you know what? And I'm getting real heated and pissed off. I need this course in order to graduate. And I'm thinking about all of the work that I put in, all of the hard work that I put in, all of the many nights that I stayed up studying, acing tests and quizzes, writing papers, meeting all the assignments and the requirements that's necessary for graduation. And I'm thinking about all of the sacrifice, the money that I'm spending, and to get down to one class left in order to obtain what I've worked so hard for this professor to display such unprofessionalism and such disdain that I would even want to engage him in conversation of, hey, listen, can we squash this? So not only did he accuse me of plagiarism, but he reported me to the school. So therefore they got involved. And again, reaching out to him, hey, listen, this is a huge mistake. Let's talk about this. It doesn't even have to get to this point. If there's a problem, obviously there is, that's on my end, I can easily rectify. Crickets wouldn't even entertain me. Again, and then when he did, 3 weeks later, nasty, very condescending. I mean, just very arrogant. Okay, so this is how we're gonna do this. Okay, cool. So again, I filed for the appeal, and the appeal was denied. And then I filed a final appeal, and it went before a different chair in the department. And he basically said, "Listen, um, we can fix this." Because at that time, I was like, "Listen, if I had to sue you, if we have to take this outside of this university to allow a court to determine, if in fact I'm guilty of plagiarism or not, when we could have solved this issue long before you get in the school involved. Hey, if you want me to write another paper over, then that's cool. I don't have a problem in saying I'm wrong. But what I do have a problem is you not using the professionalism that you claim that you have in even addressing the issue, as opposed to you being so rash in your decision making to come to a conclusion that I'm guilty of something that I never did. Plagiarism. So the department chair stepped in. He said, listen, this is an easy fix. This is how we're going to do it. I'm going to check your paper, and your professor's going to check your new paper. I want you to submit another paper. Okay? You get with the professor as far as whatever that the guidelines are, and just submit another paper. So I wrote another paper, and before I submitted it, ran it through Grammarly and ran it through Purdue OWL to make sure that there's no plagiarism that's involved. But here's the moral of the story. I got with a fellow believer, a man of God, a man who's in love with the Most High with all his heart. And this brother, and I'm pretty sure that he won't mind me mentioning his name, KL, Keith Belvin of Braven Publishing Company. And not only that, he served as a dean in New York City. And he's also a graduate of this particular school that I'm going to keep nameless right now. He pulled me aside, and I sent him the previous paper, and we began to go through the paper. It's like, man, there's some major mistakes here. And so I began to look at those mistakes, not at how I was just totally disrespected and dishonored by this professor. And yeah, he acted like a jackass for real. And we could have resolved this issue long before he even got the university involved. But I began to look at some of the mistakes that I made and how out of some of those mistakes that one could perceive it as being plagiarism. Because at that time, life I was dealing with. At that time, dealing with so much grief concerning unresolved grief concerning my mother's passing, and just so many other different elements of life of having to face. And so I slipped on some things that I would normally perfect. And as a result, the paper was lacking not only in its contextual structure, but also in following the APA formatting style to the letter. So whereas before, this paper could have and did slide by 9 other professors. Hey, listen, I could care less about block quoting, um, you know, parentheses and etc. Hey, listen, the content is great, but this one professor, he didn't care about content. He cared about formatting. And if your format's straight, there's no problem. Now, mind you, I'm taking a look at how this cat, is being very arrogant, being very condescending, mean-spirited, unresponsive, just acting like a straight up jackass and missing the whole picture. That the paper that I sent was not the best representation of who I am. The paper that I sent lacked certain things that I could have easily tweaked and could have easily worked in such a way that it would have been undeniable that this paper is an A. So I'm looking at this from a mature standpoint. Number one, that in life, I almost left this out. So when I submitted the paper, it was graded, got a passing mark, my degree is confirmed. So I finally have my master's degree in human services counseling, trauma, and crisis response. So the moral of this crazy story is this. I've learned a couple of things. Number one, to take ownership, which was hard for me to do because I'm looking at the behavior of this professor and I'm looking at the other professors that had no problem whatsoever in how I have written all of my papers all along and how he has a problem with it and didn't even articulate it to me, which he could have. Instead, he's going to make a rash decision that I meant to plagiarize a paper when I honestly didn't. It was an honest mistake that I made in my paper that could be easily rectified if you allow me to resubmit it, as opposed to you having this preconceived notion about me when you honestly don't even know me. And then to fail me of that class that I need, that one class to graduate. So I've learned ownership. That when I look at the paper before and I look at the paper afterwards, like night and day. I'm looking at the paper that I wrote, the last paper that I submitted it, that allowed me to get my degree conferred, totally different. The content had more depth. The structure was on point. The formatting was impeccable. Everything about the paper spoke to excellence that I know that I can walk in, professionalism that I'm always about, dotting every I, crossing every T, as opposed to the paper before. Not that the paper before was horrible, but it didn't speak to the greatness that's on the inside of me. So I had to take ownership. Dude, I made some mistakes. I got to own that. I can't put it all on him. Forget his attitude. Forget his nasty, low down, dirty attitude. Okay, aside from that, let me take a look at where I went wrong. Secondly, out of all of this, aside from taking things from a mature standpoint, ownership, self accountability, and responsibility, I also learned to fight for what's yours. You see, I've learned that in life, regardless of what you're going through, regardless of who says that you can't do this, you can't do that, because of whatever the reasons are that they deem to be so egregious that you can't get what you worked so hard for, that you can't get what you sacrificed for, that you can't get what you deserve. Go get it. See, oftentimes we just lay down and just wait for life to happen. We just have this que sera, sera attitude. Well, listen, well, there's nothing I can do about it. Hey, listen, I'll just write it off as an L. Or I'm just gonna pray about it. Well, faith without works is dead. It's gonna take a whole lot more than just our faith. Faith is wonderful. It's gonna take a whole lot more than our prayers. Prayer is wonderful and needful. But if we don't have any feet to match our faith, if we don't have any actions to match our prayer life, then we will never get what we're supposed to get out of life, and then to challenge those forces that have come against us to tell us what we can and cannot get when God has already told us what we can and should get. You see, there is a place of Canaan land that you're supposed to get to. I don't care if it's relationally, I don't care if it's spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, if it's financially. There is a place that God has for you, for us. It's not His will that we live beneath our privileges as being sons and daughters of the Most High. But oftentimes we will allow situations, we will allow our past, we will allow people's perceptions and opinions of us, be it family members, be it friends or frenemies, be it classmates, for whoever, to determine your own worth in life, to determine your own value. That's nobody's job but yours. You are the one to determine if you are valuable or not. You are the one to determine if I deserve this or not. It's no one else's responsibility, and no one should have the liberty to make shots and call shots and make choices and decisions concerning your own life and the direction of your life, but you, because God has given you the life to live. And when it's all said and done, as we stand before the Most High to give an accordance and account for what He has given to us, nobody around, no one in our past will be able to stand in our stead for us but us. So therefore, it's time for us to make an executive decision concerning our lives, to take ownership of where we are, to take ownership of where we need to go, regardless of what has happened or happening. But you call the shots. You take control of your own life and your own destiny. Don't leave your life and your destiny and your purpose in the hands of another who didn't create you. It's a smack in the face of God Almighty for you and I to allow situations, events, past experiences, circumstances, past failures, injustices to make a determination on how your life is supposed to look. That is your responsibility. And secondly, after assuming ownership, to face off with what it is that's holding you back, to face off with poverty, to face off with shame, to face off with inadequacy and inferiority, to face off with fear, to face off, how about this, with procrastination and excuses. It's those twin sisters that murder your mission and your mandate. So I hope this is a blessing to you, because I have learned so much in going through that experience. That experience taught me more than my undergrad work and my graduate level work. It has taught me more than any of the books that I have ever read, that I am reading, all of the courses that I have taken. There is no form of academia that have taught me more than that particular situations and other situations in life. And I tell you that you may not have a bachelor's degree, you may not have an associate's degree, you may not have a master's or a PhD, a doctoral level degree from any institution, but it's your experiences in life and what we learn from the experiences in life that gives you a PhD in suffering, that gives you a master's degree in adversity, that gives you a bachelor's degree in trouble, that gives you an associate degree. And so I want to encourage you that it's these things that begin to sharpen us, to prepare us for those things that are waiting for us. And so these are the things that produce power. These are the painful events that produce power in you, character in you, resilience in you, a relentless mentality in you, stamina and endurance in you, faith concerning you. So may this be a blessing. Like, share, comment, subscribe, pass it along, because it is the Most High God's will that we become all that we are destined to become, to give Him glory, concerning your own individual story. Your storyline is supposed to shine to give him all the honor. Him meaning the Most High God and all the glory. So as you learn from your events, you go and earn your spot in life. Learn and earn. Peace and blessings. Love you to life.